A lot of people are asking me why I wrote One Simple Act. It all started in the Newark Airport, of all places. I had an early morning flight back to Seattle, and I had stood in line at the Starbucks and got my coffee, and I went to the gate and I had my carry-on, my knitting, my purse, and as I put it down, I spilled the coffee. I was so embarrassed, and so I'm cleaning up this mess, and somebody in the Starbucks line saw what had happened and bought an extra cup of coffee and just brought it over to me and said, "Here, I saw what happened. Have a cup of coffee. Everybody needs a morning cup of coffee," and then disappeared to their own gate. And I just sat there and I thought, wow, what a nice thing to do. And on the flight home, I got to thinking about generosity and what happens when we're the recipient, when we give, and all the different ways to be generous. Because when we think about generosity, again, you know, it's the simple things. There's the generosity of time. Recently there's an article I published about what my boys did at Christmas one year for their grandparents. They were trying to find out what they could possibly give their grandparents for Christmas. They were in college and no money, and they finally came up with the idea that my dad loves Christmas as much as I do, and he couldn't decorate the house out and put up the lights. So they drove over to Yakima and they strung up lights, and I'm telling you, there was not a bush, a leaf, or a twig that did not have lights around it. It was the most brightly lit. They could have seen it from Mars. You know, they just had that house so decorated. And my parents, that meant so much more to them than anything they could have ever purchased. The generosity of time. And then there's a generosity of encouragement. My grandson Cameron with his Army men, and he was so concerned about the war in Iraq. I think he was about 8 at the time, he spent all day outside arranging his little green Army men in battle formation and just insisted his mother take a picture of it in case she ran into a general. Well, lo and behold, she met Don Rogers, the husband of June Scobie Rogers, at a Guideposts meeting. And so Jenny felt, well, she was honor bound to show Don this picture. And Don, God bless him, sat down and wrote a note to Cameron. And he said, "Cameron, I studied your battle plan, and I see what you're thinking, and with your permission, I will share it with my friends at the Pentagon." Now, what that did to that little boy's self-esteem and encouragement that he would get a letter from a general about his battle plan at age 8. It was such a beautiful thing to have done. It's such an act of generosity and love.